Alright, so this is going to be very, well, I'm just going to go for this. I'm not ready, I'm sweaty, I'm sandy because I already did my workout with people on the beach, so I'm going to feel awkward when they walk by. But I'm just going to take a stab at sharing what I'm working on with the wider community because the revelation I've had is kind of amazing. So basically, quickie is for my prior life, I have been doing yoga and fighting every step of the way. Always thinking it was never the right time, I was never fit enough. I always had to get in shape in order to be successful with it. My orthopedic training has always led me to believe that I needed to gain flexibility safely and correctly before I could do it in order to be successful with yoga and not be sore for days on end. And I just never had the time in my life to prioritize the flexibility and the training that it would take to be successful with yoga. Now I'm doing a deep dive into breathing, breathwork as it relates to human anatomy, and I'm just going to start off with some super simple basics that I'm working on with as far as breathing. So hopefully you can see me. I think what I've struggled with, and thank you to my pelvic floor PT, I've now learned how to effectively relax my pelvic floor for probably the first time in a couple of decades, and that's a game changer when it comes to breathing. So for both men and women, in order for everything to work, the canister that includes the diaphragm, the deep abdominals, the spinal stabilizers, and the pelvic floor, it all works together. In order to effectively contract, it needs to effectively relax. And I think for the anxious folks in the crew, the relaxation is just not happening for us. So I've now realized that I could get more flexibility in a yoga pose if I breathe to it versus fighting it. This is definitely going to apply for the pregnant population as far as getting your body ready to have a baby. You need to relax and work with it as opposed to fighting it, which often first-time moms do. So in any case, if you think of your abdomen kind of as a canister, I've been using the analogy of a French press, the diaphragm being the top of the press. If the diaphragm is going to contract lower and come down in order to bring air effectively into our lungs, the pelvic floor needs to descend and relax, basically to prevent an increased intra-abdominal pressure situation where something has to give. So in the postpartum population, often when intra-abdominal pressure goes up, the pelvic floor muscles are weak or in some sort of problematic state, which is often not weakness. You may have incontinence or urgency or all sorts of things. The pelvic floor needs to relax in order to work, just like the biceps needs to relax in order to contract. So basically what I've been practicing is thinking about on the inhalation, letting my abdominal muscles and my pelvic floor muscles relax. So the pelvic floor is going to descend. It's lengthen. Yikes.
Sorry about that. They are friendly.
Okay, that's what happens, but we're going to go with it. So in order for the pelvic floor to work effectively, it has to relax on the inhalation to contract on the exhalation. Similarly, the diaphragm is going to do, the diaphragm is going to do the opposite. It's going to contract and lower on the inhalation, and it's going to relax and elevate on the exhalation. So in order to breathe, in order to bring air into our lungs, our rib cage needs to move, essentially 360 degrees movement at the rib cage. So we don't actually suck air into our lungs. Well, many of us do. We shouldn't be sucking air into our lungs. When we're anxious and stressed and we feel like we need to breathe, we often want to suck air in and use our accessory respiratory muscles that are not meant for breathing, and then we wind up with a headache and a neck ache. The big, strong diaphragm is what we should be using to bring air into our lungs. So in order to do that, it's all about pressure gradients. if I want to fill my thorax with air, it's like if you get a pneumothorax and your lung collapses, you alter the pressure gradient. So if I want to fill my lungs with air, I'm going to bring my diaphragm down. I'm going to expand my rib cage. It's going to open up. The canister of above my diaphragm becomes larger, and as a result of the pressure change, air is going to come into my lungs, and my lungs are going to expand. On the exhalation, then my diaphragm is going to come back up. When the diaphragm comes back up, the rib cage the abdominals are going to essentially contract on the exhalation. It's going to bring my rib cage back down and in, and with that it's going to force or expel air out of my lungs for the same kind of pressure gradient reason. So when I take a deep breath in, I'm going to relax my pelvic floor and my abdominal muscles. When I exhale, I'm going to tighten my abdominal muscles. I shouldn't say tighten. I'm going to contract my abdominal muscles, and I'm going to lift my pelvic floor muscles. So in order for it to work together, basically this is what's blown my mind. It all works together. If you do it correctly in concert with one another, it works together effectively. It's more efficient, it's more productive, and your body will find a state of relaxation. This all kind of delves into vagal tone. I could go on for hours and hours, but basically the takeaway point that I want you to think about practicing is on the inhalation. All those moms who've been trying to suck in their postpartum mom gut for the last many years, you got to let that go. So you're going to inhale, relax. Your belly is going to get big. Kind of looks like you're distending your belly. Your pelvic floor is going to descend as if you're basically. When my pelvic floor therapist suggested I do this, I thought, no way, I'm going to go to the bathroom on your table. I did not go to the bathroom on her table, but my body has changed immensely just by relaxing my pelvic floor. So you breathe, inhale, belly big, pelvic floor descends, exhale, abdominals contract, pelvic floor contracts. And the diaphragm is doing just the opposite. So inhale, diaphragm is coming down and lengthening. My rib cage is expanding and getting bigger. Air is moving in. On the exhale, those abdominals and my pelvic floor coming up. It's moving my diaphragm back up. It's making less space. The air is being expelled out. So I'm totally messing this up while I'm talking, but when I close my eyes and meditate and think about this, it's amazing the change. So practice that. Inhale, relax the abdomen and pelvic floor. Pelvic floor descends like you're going to go to the bathroom. Exhale, abdominals contract, pelvic floor contracts, so you're trying to stop the flow of urine if you're going to the bathroom. But in order for all the people who are spending their life Kegling and tighten, if you don't effectively relax, you'll be unable to effectively contract. So this is the groundwork that I'm trying to lay for my own practice of mindfulness, relaxation,